I just think it'd be hilarious for it to happen in a game, and then for both of them to get the fighting penalty. Both of them have to go in the penalty box, and then keep fighting in the penalty box.
Oh man, hockey's back. Hockey is back. Sports are back.
Is it though?
It is.
I mean, baseball was back for what, like 2 days?
I mean, baseball was back. Yeah, baseball's back. They're just doing half a season. Like we're trying to make we're doing what we can with what we got. Okay. Yes, we had what 24 teams in the NHL playoffs.
How many? I thought there was only like 12 teams in the NHL.
All right. Yes. So yes, we're 2020 is weird. Let's just admit that. This is a weird year in that we're actually having a round robin play-in for NHL, which has never happened before. So we're just making do with what we got right now. So
you could say 2020 is a revolutionary year.
So let's just go through the breakdown, because right now we officially know who is matching up against each other in the West. So we're just going to analyze the West, and in the next video we're going to analyze the East. So we're just going to go through the different breakdowns that we got, the one who's playing 1 and 8, 2 and 7, and so on. Just what we're expecting to see from them. What are we going to see? Who we think is going to win, who we want to win probably, because there's some teams here I don't want to win, as you can tell in the background, as who I'm probably going to pick between the Golden Knights and Chicago Blackhawks. But we're just going to go through it. What are we going to expect? What is going to be the highlights? What should they probably improve upon when they play each other? And like I said, just the final thoughts that we have and who we think is going to win. Or if you want to do who you want to win. I don't care either way, but I'll probably do who I think is probably going to win these. So the first one that we're going to see is the number one Golden Knights in the West playing the now reseeded number 8 Blackhawks, who, yes, were originally the number 12 team, entering the whole weird playoff system that we got. So Golden Knights, when they were doing the round robin play, they went perfect 3-0. They averaged 4.7 goals a game, which is number 1 overall in these playoffs between all the teams. However, there is a 3.3 goals against average, which puts them at number 15 overall. So they're the second worst goals against.
For those of you who don't understand hockey, I'm going to paraphrase this for you. They're hella good on offense, but they suck.
But they do have one of the best power play units, going at about a 27% at the power play, which is number 3 overall, 3 for 11 for their opportunities here. So again, you just look at the stats just for their offensive. Yes, they're a very heavy offensive team. However, defense, not so much. They may need to keep up with their defensive, the lack of defense, in order to make up for it on offense. It's going to be a big question of that. And that also is true when you go with the save percentage. It is the worst save percentage that we have in this playoffs right now.
So you know why they suck at defense? Their coach just plays players for 60 minutes a game, and then he puts new players in. And so basically they're just too tired to play defense.
Yeah, and it's true. We saw DeBoer over with the Sharks. There was quite a bit of questions as to how he plays these players. How long does he keep them on the ice? Does he rotate them in and out? And there were defensive problems during his time at Sharks as well. So we'll see what happens with the Golden Knights. And I will question this. I have mentioned this to you before. I believe that with having Leonard and Fleury as goalies, those are solid goalies. So it's very big surprise that save percentage.
I was going to say, no, they're not.
I think it's more.
I could score on them.
But I think it's more that there is a defensive problem, not a goalie problem. I think Leonard, like I said, Leonard is a starting goalie. Fleury is a starting goalie. So I think that it's really a lot of defensive plays. I think it's more DeBoer's calling, his coaching, and how he sets up his defense.
What defense?
Exactly. I know, you can see from there. Yes, looking at it, it's 3.3 goals. It's one of the worst goals against average, and it's the worst save percentage in the teams in this first round of the playoffs.
Hear me out here. Their defense is better than their goalies. They have give up 3.3 goals against, which is number 15, but the save percentage is 87%, which is 16, which means that their goalies are ranked lower than their average defense. Thus, the rest of the defense is elevating the goalies.
I will also throw in this point as well. They, I think, have the second or third fewest shots allowed on the defense. So I think this is a little skewed.
So you're saying the defense is even better because they're just not allowing shots, but when
they do allow a shot, it just goes in.
Yeah, which means the goalies suck.
I honestly, no, I will not say that against Leonard. Leonard is a top goalie. He's an elite goalie, I would say.
Also, power plays only 27%.
It's number 3. It's not only that.
That means that 3 out of 11. So that means that 8 times they had a power play and did nothing with it. You have more men on the ice than your opponent 8 times and you don't score a goal. What is this?
I will say this: if you're going 1 for 4, that's good. Just so you know. So that's 25%. That's a really good power play.
They did not score on 8 power plays.
Okay, I will say yes, they did not. But it is still a very good power play.
So what I'm hearing is that their opponents might as well only put 4 people on the ice because who cares?
I mean, well, that's pretty much. I mean, if you look at the Blackhawks, look out. So if we're going to go switch over to the Blackhawks, they took 17 penalties. They took, I think, one of the most, not the most. I think the Blues have the most, but Blackhawks have the second most penalties that they've taken. So they've given 17 opportunities to another team, and it's not that good. It is a 15 overall. There's one team that's worse than them on the penalty kill.
So what I'm hearing is they're going to give a lot of penalties. And since the Golden Knights goalies suck, they just need to make sure that their penalties are to Golden Knights forwards, not defenders, because then they're fine. Okay, got it.
Yeah, but I mean, just switching over to the Blackhawks, number 8 in the West. They're going to be taking on the Golden Knights. They beat who was 5th overall Oilers 3-1, which is a big surprise because I thought Oilers were going to be in contention for the Stanley Cup this year. And again, we're matching pretty much Golden Knights against a much harder team over 4 games. They have 4 goals average, which is tied second most, and 3.75 goals against, which is the lowest. So we're seeing 2 really good offensive teams, 2 really strong offensive teams, but not good defensive teams.
So in all seriousness, if the Blackhawks can get this game to the maximum number of games, if they can get this series to maximum number of games, they're going to get an advantage the later into the series it goes because of the Golden Knights coaching, because they play so physically, and their goalies just have a higher save percentage. So attrition over time will favor the Blackhawks.
Definitely if it goes later, it's definitely going to be a little bit nerve-wracking for the Golden Knights, but again, I think with these 2 teams, it's going to be a lot of catching up on offense to overcompensate for that lack of a defense. But with Blackhawks, they do have some experience because they still have some of those players that won them those 3 Stanley Cups in the early 2010s. They have a lot of young guys as well, so that's really what they're trying to keep up with, is just those young guys not having too much experience in the playoffs, and trying to see if they can learn from those experienced veterans. So I guess final thoughts on who you think is going to win?
If the Blackhawks can get a game off the Golden Knights in the first 2, then I like the Blackhawks. If the Golden Knights can get a 2-0 series lead, then I think the Golden Knights take the whole thing.
Yeah, I think if it goes to a Game 7, there's going to be a lucky goal from Blackhawks in overtime. That's going to be my prediction for if it goes to Game 7. But I think Golden Knights are going to get this easily. I don't think Blackhawks are strong enough for taking on the Golden Knights. All right, so then moving on to number 2, Colorado Avalanche taking on number 7 in the reseedings of Coyotes, who were the 11th team, so the second worst team going into the whole round robin series, this weird playoff system. So Colorado Avalanche going 2-1 in the round robin play, losing to the Golden Knights. 3 goals average, 1.7 goals against, which is actually tied for third in fewest goals against. Save percentage is number 4 overall, and power play is number 4 overall, tied number 4 overall, and they were able to get a shutout on the Stars. I have nothing against the Avalanche. Like, I have nothing bad to say about it. I don't know where is a bad thing about this. They have a lot of goals. They basically score twice as many goals as they give up.
Defense wins championships. And so looking at that loss to the Golden Knights, like, what the hell happened? How'd you give up? Like, an average offense against a bad defense should, with a good defense against a good offense, I would take the average good over the good bad. But apparently that's not how it went.
Yeah, it was definitely a very back and forth game between Avalanche and Golden Knights. But yes, I like I said, like, other than that one hiccup of a game, like, they're a very solid team. I think they were going into it, they were either second or third overall going into these playoffs. And they were just been dominant. I even said last year when the Sharks were playing the Avalanche, I said that team was either going to win a Stanley Cup this year or next year. And I'm going to stick with it.
Against the Sharks, everybody looks like they can win.
The Sharks beat them though last year. But I'm gonna stick with it, and I'm gonna still say that either Avalanche will win the Stanley Cup this year or next year. That's how good I think Avalanche are. And then, I mean, going against the Coyotes.
Nah, Seattle's going to win it.
Seattle's going to win in 2 years. But the Avalanche are going to be going against the Coyotes, which, yes, they did beat the Predators, a very tough, physically defensive team.
But Schwarzenegger also beat the Predators, so it's fine.
And Coyotes, kind of like a similar problem to what we were seeing with the Golden Knights and Blackhawks. The offense may need to keep up with the defense. 3.5 goals per game versus 3 goals against. And a very good save percentage, pretty much like right there in the middle of the entire pack that we're seeing with the 92.6% saves. But here's the big issue, which I don't think that they're going to be able to overcome when playing Colorado, is the 4.8 shots on average they 40.8 shots on average they give up per game, which is the most. And especially against Colorado, which is very technically skilled.
I was going to say, except for Colorado doesn't have that high-powered of an offense. So, like, if there was a team the Coyotes wanted to see, it's the Avalanche. But every shot the Avalanche get is going to be a good shot.
But it's like, it doesn't really help with, I mean, there's so many other issues on defense for the Coyotes. I mean, their power play isn't that good. It's only 16%. Their penalty kill is one of the worst. It's number 11, giving up 4 goals on 14 opportunities. So, I mean, it's not like they produce much offense. Yes, they did get 3.5 goals on average against the Predators, but that defense doesn't really help out. Those special teams aren't really helping out either. They're going to really tire out their goalie each game. And especially with Colorado, those shots are going to be on net each time. So if you're giving up 40 shots for Colorado, they're easily going to get 3 or 4 goals.
I mean, Colorado's other strategy is just to play a super physical game and just get the whistle blown every 2 or 3 minutes. Because
and getting those penalties from the Coyotes. I think it does need to be a little bit more disciplined defensively for the Coyotes, and also tighten up on those special teams, because if you're going to be giving up a lot of those penalties, your special teams need to be solid, and it's not there. And even when they get that opportunity to have that man advantage, they're not scoring a whole lot.
Well, in a 2 for 12 power play percentage basically means that the Avalanche don't need to worry about being down a man.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, bummer, somebody's in the penalty box, bummer. Like, it's not that big a deal. Against somebody else, like, with a real power play percentage, so not even like somebody better than the Golden Knights, that'd be different. But
So I honestly don't know with these two. What are your thoughts? Who do you think is going to win this series?
Oh, Avalanche.
Yeah,
easy.
I think Avalanche, and I'm probably going to guess that
5 or 6.
I'm going to guess a sweep.
Okay.
If it's I think if it's a 7-game series, it's going to be a sweep in 4. If it's a 5-game series, it's going to be a sweep in 3. That's why I think of this matchup. I think that Colorado is just way too good.
Okay.
So moving on to the other two teams in the West that are matching up, the number 3 team, who is the Dallas Stars, taking on the number 6 team, who was number 8 Flames. Stars. I see your face going on right now. You're looking at those numbers. 1.7 goals on average, which actually isn't the worst. It is tied for 14 technically. But they do give up 3.3 goals per game.
How did they make the playoffs?
Send them home.
Yes, these were one of the round robin teams. They went 1 for 2 in the round robin, only beating the Blues, and that win was in a shootout. So it wasn't even a regulation win. They had to go into a shootout. So it's not like, and in these next rounds, I don't believe that there's going to be shootouts. So it's not like they can afford.
Well, with that save percentage, do they even want a shootout?
Right, I know a terrible save percentage. I mean, a 75% penalty kill. So if you're going to be giving up, if you're going to give up 4 penalties, which is pretty much about an average penalties that you're going to
88% save.
Yeah,
garbage.
Yeah, and if you're going to give up those 4 penalties a game, that's you're kind of typically seeing in a hockey game, you're going to be allowing that 1 goal to go in, which, I mean, you're only getting 1 or 2 goals a game. So one of those goals that you're giving up is a penalty.
And nobody's even fouling you. They got 4 penalties, like power plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all 3 games, they had 4 opportunities. So, I mean, yes, they did score 1, so they got their 1 for 4. That's like
and versus the Blues, they scored up a man because they pulled their goalie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did get the late goal against the Stars.
But they allowed 3 goals in the third period versus the Knights. It's normally supposed to be the other way around.
Yes, and they were up 3-1 against the Knights that they got. So they had an opportunity to close it out against the Knights.
They scored too many goals. They didn't know how to play the game anymore. They only score 1 goal a game. Like, if they can win these games 1-0, great. But
they're giving up 3 goals.
All right, so let's talk about the person who's going to win this matchup, the Flames.
So the Flames, they took on the number 9 team going on the Jets. They won 3-1. Flames have a 4-goal average, which is second most, tied for second most, and only gave up 1.5 goals. So they're basically
the inverse.
They quite literally matched the Stars on these goals and goals against averages that we've been seeing, and they have the second highest save percentage,
94.5%.
Yes, second most of all of these 16 teams that we're seeing.
There we go. That's a proper power play percentage.
29%, number 4 overall, because there's a ridiculous amount, because we're only taking like such a short amount of
5 for 17.
We're not really talking about the season stats, just so you guys know. We're only looking at right now.
It was a season.
Exactly. Because we haven't had hockey for so long. So I'm like, okay, let's reset all these stats. Let's just go for 0. Because we haven't seen hockey in so long. And the only hockey that they played in between was just 1 game before this whole series started, just to get those people in the warm-ups back into things. And their penalty kill, I would say, it's the percentage isn't good.
It's not bad though.
It's I would say it's okay. The 88%
on penalty translates to honestly though, that only translates to a 12%. Like the inverse.
Yes.
Your opponent's only scoring on 12%, which is significantly.
Yes, it's definitely a good, but there is, again, like when we're talking about the playoffs, you want to get into like the 90%. You want to be higher, and especially just like for how like little that we're taking these stats for. It's not like we're going through the entire season and talking about them on a penalty kill over like 100 penalties. We're only doing it across like 10 to maybe
apparently
17. Yes, they gave 17 through 4 games, so they're going to take a lot of penalties, at least against the Jets. I don't know about the Stars, because Stars didn't...
It's fine, though. Their goalie saves 94%. They're fine.
Yeah, and the Stars aren't looking to get those opportunities to get it on the power play, so I don't know.
Just don't break Pavelski's face, and they'll be fine.
So I don't know how this is going to go. I think I want to say, obviously, if you look at the stats of just goals against, Flames take it. However, depending on the penalty situation, because we don't know really what the Star situation is across a lot of penalties. They've only had 4. If they go for 17, that stat might increase. So you see what?
No, because they can't score.
But they can't score on a 5-on-5.
Like, according to that, one of their games, the only goal they scored was in a penalty. Like, they couldn't score in 5-on-5 according to these numbers.
Yes. So I think if Flames can stay out of the box,
they win. Easy.
Yes, absolutely. I think they win, and I think that they would maybe only give up 1 game to the Stars. Yeah, it might be a sweep as well, but I think maybe only 1 game to the Stars. I think the Stars could win 1 game against the Flames.
In a shootout?
Yes, if we bend the rules of the NHL to allow... No, it's going to be in overtime. In the overtime, there's going to be a penalty shot awarded to the Stars. That's how they're going to win their 1 game.
No, how it's going to happen is the Flames goalie is going to get so bored from having to defend shots, he's going to turn around to get a sip of water. At the same time, a Flames defenseman is going to pass the puck back to reset the offense.
And it goes right into the net.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think my final thought, I think Flames are going to take this. Stars, you're going to get 1 game, and that's it for me. I think Flames take this and move on. So now the next teams that we have, the Blues, who entered the playoffs number 1 in the West.
Yeah, but they suck.
Dropped down to number 4 after the round robin play, losing all of their games. One of those games that we just talked about was in a shootout against the Stars. They're entering this. They're going to be going against the number 5 team, who was the number 7 team entering the Canucks. So the Blues, I know, we'll get to that. Trust me, we'll get to that stat as soon as, I mean, there's not much to say about the Blues in terms of good, but that, yes, is atrocious. I would put it on par with that 40 shots for the Coyotes. But Blues, 2 goals on average that they will get, 3.3 against. So there is hope for them to kind of get into that rhythm again, get going, and show why they are the defending champs. Like I said, number 1 in the West during the season, entering this playoffs, did drop to number 4. However, the stats that aren't good, which is pretty much the exact same problem of we see with the Stars. 1 for 10 on the power play. So
you know what I was saying before about the other teams sucking? They suck.
surprisingly, there's teams that haven't scored on a power play. And when we talk about the East...
Well, then their percentage is 100%. They're 100% on power plays.
If they go 0 for 10?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Yes.
That's 0%.
You just pencil a little 1 in front of it.
And their penalty kill is 11 overall. 76.9%, 3 for 13 on the penalty kill. And the stat that you were just laughing about, they are outshot 59 to 95. Essentially, they only take 1 shot for every 2 shots they give up.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
1 for you, 1 for me, 1 for you, another 1 for you, another 1 for you, 1 for me.
But here's the thing is that you look at their goals, the goals for and goals against don't match up to those shots opportunities.
Yeah, because the other team's tired from taking so many shots. They're like, I guess I'll just throw it at the goalie. Here, catch. They're playing catch with the goalie. They're not even shooting.
So I don't know what to think of this. And I also want to mention this. I didn't say this about the Stars. Tyler Seguin wasn't in that game when they were playing against the Blues. One of their best offensive players wasn't playing against the Blues, and they were still able to tie. Blues still lost because of that. So again, they played against the Stars, one of the teams that they lost to. They couldn't beat them without one of their best players.
But the Stars were playing without their offense at all.
I mean, true, yes. They did get their one goal to send it to overtime. So I don't know what to say with the Blues. Definitely those special teams needs to step up in order to see if they're going to be able to beat the Canucks. And especially if we're talking about power play opportunities for the Blues, Canucks are going to give them those power play opportunities. Canucks, most penalties taken out of all these teams.
But it's warranted. The Blues have a punchable face.
But again, Canucks are going to give them those power play opportunities, so Blues need to dial in on those power plays. Canucks, exact opposite of what we see with the Blues. 3 goals average, 2.5 against, with I would say a pretty average goalie save percentage of a 91.8% save. That's average.
That's exceptionally good for a Sharks goalie.
I want to talk about Jones, okay? Let's move on from Jones.
Can't. His contract's too expensive.
Oh, we can't move on.
Anyway, so it's a 92% save, and
You know what? That's fine. If your goalie can save 92% of shots and you're only getting shot at 60 times, you're going to be fine. Especially if you're shooting 95 times.
And they did beat the number 10 team Wild 3-1, who, by the way, Rick, you'll love this, have a former Shark goalie, Alex Stalock, who was the backup to Jones. Yeah, I know. They were able to get a shutout win against the Wild, but they did suffer a shutout loss against the Wild.
That's the more impressive part. How do you not score against the backup to Martin Jones?
Because
did they take a nap? So what I'm hearing is if the Canucks can just not fall asleep for 2 quarters, whatever they're called. If the Canucks can choose to not fall asleep for 2 halves, then they'll be fine. Like, their goalie can produce a shutout. And as long as they're punching the right people, then they'll be fine. They just can't take penalties against the 4th line. If you're gonna take a penalty, make sure it's against a first liner.
Right, but it's like Canucks. They don't like with that power play opportunities with the Blues. They can afford to take penalties.
Yeah,
they're only gonna give up 1 goal every 2 games from what it looks like.
Yeah.
So it looks like they can afford to take those penalties, but you may not want to because again, you're going against the Stanley Cup defending champions
who suck.
Yes, granted. Again, you don't want to take that many penalties.
Whatever. The Blues suck. Nobody likes the Blues. The Blues are terrible. And they're just gonna get eliminated. I'm calling a sweep.
A Canucks sweep?
Absolutely, because the Blues suck.
I cannot see a sweep with Canucks. Canucks are good,
and that is why
I think they are inexperienced, especially when it comes to playoffs.
Okay.
So it's not like you're playing a different team every 2 games. You're playing the same team.
They came out on top of the play-ins, so they obviously are playing well. They have motivation, and they're playing against the crappiest team in the NHL.
No, they are. I will say that. I would say maybe Blackhawks are one of the worst teams in the playoffs right now.
No, I didn't say the playoffs. I said the NHL. I said what I said, and I meant it.
You know who's behind us, right? You know the team that's the flag that's behind us, right?
Yeah, I would say they're better than the Blues.
I don't know about this. I think this is gonna go all games. I think whatever the series is, if it goes 7, if it's a best of 5, a best of 7, I think it's gonna take all those games. Who's gonna win? I can see Canucks winning. I can't see it in the sweep. That's where I disagree with you. I cannot see it in the sweep. I can see it going.
The Blues will be lucky to score a goal.
I can see it going the full opportunity, and I can see Canucks winning on 1 goal, maybe if it's like the empty net 2-goal win in that whatever last game is, if it's a 5 or 7 game series, like a 2-goal win just because of an empty net opportunity. So that's all that we have. So tune in for the next video. We will be talking about the East as well, but in the meantime, let us know what you guys think about these matchups. Who do you think? Do you think it's going to be the Knights or the Blackhawks?
Blackhawks. Screw the Knights.
I'm going to go with the Knights on this one, unfortunately. Avalanche or Coyotes, who do you think is going to win? I think sweep Avalanche for sure. That
sounds fair.
That's mine. Between the Coyotes and Avalanche, Avalanche are going to sweep that series. Stars, Flames. I think Flames get it. I think Stars are only going to get one.
I think
game.
Flames sweep.
I think Stars are going to get
or
one.
whatever I said before. I stand by my previous statements, including that the Blues suck.
I think Stars will get 1 game. Blues, Canucks. I think Canucks. It's going to take the entire series. It's going to take all the games for Canucks to win this.
Nah, Blues suck. The Blues are going to end up fighting each other, and they're going to get 2 penalties at the same time.
That actually helped them last year. Not going to lie, there is a video of during practice when they were like the last team in the NHL. There's a video of one of the top guys fighting one of like the guys on the 4th line in a practice.
I just think it'd be hilarious for it to happen in a game, and then for both of them to get the fighting penalty. Both of them have to go in the penalty box, and then keep fighting in the penalty box.
I want to see that too. That would actually be pretty hilarious. So please leave a comment down below. Please like this video as well. Please hit subscribe if you want this. We're going to somewhat change things up. We will talk about college basketball when college basketball returns. If it returns, hopefully it returns. Please let it return this year. But we will talk about college basketball once college basketball returns. But in the meantime, hockey's the one thing that we got going on for us right now. So we will be talking about hockey, at least through these playoffs. And then maybe if you guys like this video and if you want to see more of this, maybe we'll just continue on to next season as well. We'll just do an entire winter thing where we're just talking about college basketball and hockey. So please let us know.
West Coast, best coast.
See you in the next video.